Marcus Aurelius sat in a cold tent on the edge of the Roman frontier. Outside, plague swept through his ranks. His men were dying. His generals were begging him to retreat. And somewhere between the stench of death and the scratch of his pen, this emperor wrote something that still feels like a dare. He wrote that he didn't just accept what was happening. He loved it. Not the dying, not the plague, the fact that it was his, that it was real. That fighting it was the one thing he could not afford to do. Here's the part most people get wrong. They hear and love your fata and picture someone shrugging, giving up, smiling through the pain like it doesn't hurt. But what the Stoics built was the opposite of giving up. It was the fiercest mindset ever put on paper. And by the end of this, you'll see why some brain scans and battlefield tests now back them up. Let's start with a split that changes how you spend your energy. The Stoics drew a hard line between two zones. On one side, your judgments, your choices, how you react. On the other, everything else. The weather, the news, what other people do, the results of your best effort. That second zone, you own none of it. And the moment you try to control it, your energy leaks out like water through a cracked jar. This isn't just a nice idea. Marcus Aurelius filled his private journal with hundreds of entries. More than half circle back to this one theme. Accept what is not yours to change. Act only where your hands reach. He didn't write those lines for a reader. He wrote them for himself, at night, alone, with the weight of an empire on his back. He needed them the way a drowning person needs air. But here's the thing. Most of us stop at step one. We say, "Ref, fine, I can't control the traffic, I can't control the layoff, I'll accept it." And then we stew. We tell ourselves we've accepted it, but inside, we're still clenching, still bitter, still whispering, "This shouldn't have happened to me." The Stoics saw that gap. They knew plain acceptance wasn't enough. It still left a wound. So they pushed further, way further. They said, don't just accept the rock that falls on your path. Pick it up, use it, build with it. And if you can, learn to love the fact that it fell. That leap, from grim tolerance to fierce embrace, is what they called Amor Fati, love of fate. And it might sound poetic, but there's a reason brain research keeps circling back to it. When people are taught to welcome what happens instead of bracing against it, their stress response changes shape. One lab study found that just giving people the instruction to accept a stressful task rather than fight through it sharply cut the fear center's response. That's the difference between a fire alarm and a quiet alert. The brain still notices the threat. It just stops screaming, and the effects go deeper than a single scan. Weeks of practice change the resting state. Morning stress hormones drop. The body's rhythm settles into a calmer baseline. Heart rate becomes more flexible, more able to shift between effort and rest. This is what the Stoics were doing with ink and parchment thousands of years before anyone could measure it. They were training their nervous system through thinking. Now let's talk about how they trained. Because Amor Fati wasn't a belief you adopted once. It was a daily workout. 3 tools show up again and again in the ancient texts. First, the journal. Marcus is the clearest example. He sat each night and looked over the day, what rattled him, where he clung to things he couldn't change. He didn't write to feel good. He wrote to catch the lies he told himself. Modern studies on this kind of writing show a clear pattern. People who write about their thoughts and responses, not venting, but examining, grow tougher over time. It's like stretching a muscle. The first few times it aches, then it gives. Second, they pictured the worst in advance. Seneca urged his students to imagine loss before it arrived. Imagine the deal falls through. Imagine the friend betrays you. Imagine the fire. Not to become anxious, but to soften the blow. To arrive at the crisis with your balance already set. Research on this kind of mental rehearsal shows drops in anxiety and gains in gratitude. When you pre-live the storm, the real storm feels smaller, and you notice what you still have. Third, the Stoics talk to themselves, not in vague ways, in sharp, direct questions. Marcus asked himself each morning, what is in my control today? Epictetus pushed students to catch their first reaction to any event and challenge it on the spot. Not, this is terrible, but if this happened, what can I build from it? That inner shift from victim to builder is the hinge that Amor Fati turns on. But here's where a common trap appears. People hear and love your fata and think it means sit still. Don't fight. Don't push for change. If everything is fate, why bother? This is the sharpest objection to the whole idea, and it deserves a real answer. The Stoics were not passive. Marcus Aurelius didn't sit in his tent writing poetry while his empire burned. He led armies. He made choices under pressure. Seneca advised the most powerful man in Rome. Epictetus taught that the mind's rebellion against tyranny was sacred, even when the body was chained. These were not people who lay down. They drew a line. You accept the cards. You play them with everything you've got. Accepting reality does not mean endorsing it. It means refusing to waste your energy on wishing it were different, so you can pour that energy into action where action matters. Think of it like a blacksmith. The metal arrives hard, rough, cold. The smith doesn't stand there cursing the raw ore, doesn't wish it were already a blade. The heat, the hammer, the sparks, that's the work. The worse the raw stock, the more skill the forging demands. And that demand is exactly what sharpens the smith. Now you might say, fine, that works for small stuff. Traffic, bad weather, a rude email. But what about real suffering? What about loss that cuts deep? Does Amor Fati still hold when the stakes are life and death? The ancient record suggests it holds the hardest when it matters the most. During the plague that swept Rome and killed millions, Marcus wrote some of his most intense passages about fate. Epictetus gave lectures during a famine. When the ground shook beneath their feet, these thinkers didn't reach for comfort. They reached for Amor Fati. Because comfort runs out, a mindset that converts pain into purpose does not. And this isn't only ancient. Modern high-stakes fields keep bumping into the same finding. Emergency teams that train in an acceptance mindset make sharper calls under pressure. Their error rate drops. Their speed holds steady even as chaos grows around them. Military officers who practice it cut reaction times in combat drills. Athletes who rehearse setbacks before big races finish faster. When you stop spending energy on how this shouldn't be happening, that energy flows into what you're actually doing. But there's a limit, and honest thinkers admit it. Amor Fati works best when the obstacle is something you can absorb and redirect. A career setback, a failed project, a broken plan. In these moments, the Stoic frame is powerful. The rock becomes fuel. But when suffering is caused by injustice, by systems that crush people unfairly, loving your fate alone is not enough. It can even become an excuse to do nothing. The Stoics themselves didn't fall into that trap. They acted, they reformed, they governed. But the risk is real for anyone who takes the idea too far without the action half. Acceptance without effort is not Amor Fati. It's just giving up with a Latin name. So the real teaching is both halves at once. Accept what has happened. Fight for what you can still change. Hold both in the same breath. Something else worth noticing. Amor Fati isn't only for pain. The Stoics said you should welcome good fortune with the same open hands. Not clinging. Not hoarding. Enjoying it fully because you know it's borrowed. A great meal. A kind word. A lucky break. These two are fate. And loving them means tasting them deeply, not grasping them so hard they shatter. That's a side of Amor Fati that pop culture almost never talks about. The joy half. The part where you sit in a warm room with someone you love and think, this too I did not earn. This too arrived without my asking, and it is mine right now. There's a moment in Seneca's letters where he describes misfortune as a guest at dinner. He doesn't bar the door. He doesn't hide the plates. He sets an extra place. He welcomes the storm the same way he'd welcome a friend, not because he enjoys storms, but because slamming the door takes more energy than setting a chair. And once the storm sits down, it often shrinks. Whether Seneca meant that as a real ritual or a vivid image, scholars still debate. But the power of it stands either way. It rewires the instinct. Most of us see trouble arrive and clench, tighten the jaw, lock the hands. What if the first move were to open them instead? If anything here shifted the way you think about setbacks, the channel goes much deeper on this kind of thinking. Drop a comment and tell me, which part hit you the hardest? I read every one. Somewhere on the Roman frontier, a tired emperor opens a notebook. A stone falls. He picks it up, and for reasons the world still can't quite explain, he smiles.